Doctors are real heroes of the world. The celebration of National Doctors' Day is an endeavor to highlight on the value of doctors and to offer them our respect by commemorating one of their greatest representatives, the legendary Dr. Bidhan Chandra Roy, who was also the second Chief Minister of West Bengal. I, Miss Anasuya, Headmistress, Delhi School of Excellence, Banjara Hills, feel this is indeed a proud moment for me to welcome all the doctors here today on this special day to our BSc family. A warm welcome and my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Sujauddin, Dr. Sabha, Dr. Sachin, Dr. Dilip Chandra, Dr. Keshav, and Dr. Shashidhar. Thank you, dear doctors. Thank you so much for being here today. We also have on the panel today our DSCNs, Nidhi and Adi, who are representing the student fraternity. And I am sure you have already got introduced to Ms. Sanju, our senior faculty at Delhi School of Excellence, Banjara Hills. Dear doctors, I now request each one of you to kindly introduce yourself. Dr.
Okay,
Sabha.
I'm Dr. Sabha Sayar. I'm working in Apollo General Hospital. I'm a physician, and since 15 years I'm working here, and I'm teaching medical students also as well as working. So I congratulate all the doctors on the event of National Doctors Day and the faculty of DSC also for commemorating us.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Can we have Dr. Sachin introduce himself? Please, sir.
Good morning, everybody. I am Dr. Sachin Elagutri. I am working in as a cardiologist and something called as cardiac electrophysiologist in AIG Hospital, Gachibowli. Last 1 year, where earlier working with care hospitals, Banjara Hills. So that's what it is for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear doctor. Yeah. Can we now have Dilip, sir, introduce himself?
Good morning, everyone. Dr. Dilip Gude here. I'm a physician, intensivist, and a diabetologist, working for the last 12 years, currently at Virinchi Hospital, Banjara Hills. So thank you, DSC, for this opportunity, and happy Doctor's Day to everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dilip. Nice to know about you. Yeah. Can I have Dr. Keshav, please?
Good evening, ma'am. Sorry, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, good morning.
I'm Dr. Keshav Kumar. I am working as a pulmonologist in Medicover Hospitals. I've been working as a pulmonologist around 14 years. I am accompanied with my wife, who is also a doctor, Gayatri, who is a medical dentist from Ferendus Hospital.
Okay.
I thank you for BSc for welcoming us. Thank you.
Ma'am, we also have, sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. Ma'am, we also have here Dr. Gayatri with us. So I extend a warm welcome to Dr. Gayatri.
Yes. Yeah. Gayatri, ma'am, you can also even tell us about yourself, please.
Yeah. Good morning, ma'am. I appreciate the DSC welcoming us to the topic of regarding the COVID virus to the children. I'm very interested to teach children actually. I'm basically a gynecologist actually, but later on I have done super specialty in medical genetics and I am a consultant medical geneticist at Fernandez Hospital and I go to all the branches of Fernandez.
Great to know that, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now, can we have Dr. Shashidhar introduce himself?
Good morning, ma'am. Thank you. At the outset, I would congratulate you for organizing this. I'm Dr. Shashidhar. I'm a senior transplant physician and nephrologist working at Yashoda and a couple of other hospitals. Dilip is my colleague. Very nice to see him here. And thank you, ma'am, for organizing this. We look forward to talk to you.
Yeah, it's a proud pleasure. Thank you so much. Can we get back to Dr. Sujauddin? Yes, sir. Could you please tell us something about yourself?
Good morning, everybody, and happy Doctors' Day to all the doctors available here. I'm Dr. Syed Shujauddin. I'm basically a clinical psychologist with 24 years of experience. And I run my own child development center at Mass Uptime, where children with different difficulties and not only children, even with adults with psychological difficulties and all with are treated there.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for the information. So as we progress further into our program, as we all know, we are going through this COVID period. Yeah. So as we progress through this COVID period, the importance of doctors has been felt more than ever. And I think everyone here would agree to that. So before our student representatives shoot out their questions or queries, I would actually want to thank all of you, as you are our frontline warriors in this pandemic time, and you are helping us out all to be really safe. You are definitely adding on to some confidence for us to face this difficult situation in a better way. So thank you so much, dear doctors, for helping us out in these difficult times. However, as you all know, even if we are having a lot of information on television and a lot of articles being coming up on FB or in the Google, we definitely want to know something directly from you so that we can handle this situation in a better way. So over to Nidhi, our student representative, who will be posting you some questions, and also to Adi. Thank you so much, dear doctors. So here we go.
Good morning, everyone. I am grade 10.
And I am Adi from grade 10.
Good morning, everyone. Delhi School of Excellence, Banjara Hills, are here to ask a few questions to get more inputs about the pandemic situation we are facing today. A warm welcome to all dear doctors. So my first question is to Dr. Sabha. Why is the virus so threatening, and how can immunity combat it?
This virus is threatening to us because it's a novel virus. It's a new virus to us, and humans have never been exposed to it. So we will take our time developing immunity to it. That is why it is more threatening to us. There are many other viruses which we have developed immunity towards. So this is the phase, we are in the phase currently of developing immunity against it. And in the course of developing immunity, which is known as, herd immunity for the entire community, we will have certain
deaths. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So my second question is to Dr. Sachin. Are the masks used by common population at large protect us from infection? How frequently should they be disposed?
Okay. What I understand from the question is the masks used by the common public, are they good enough? So the masks, at least they should be triple layer masks. That's very important. Ordinary cloth masks may not be protective. But nevertheless, if you don't have one, that is to be used. Something has to be used. That's very important. So the minimum requirement would be the triple layer mask. And most important thing is, how do you wear the mask and how do you dispose the mask? That's very important. So when you wear a mask, it has to be worn while wearing is okay. So it has to be worn, and then you have to press it has to be snugly fitting to the upper portion of your nose. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, what happens is, if we are never used to these masks as a public or even a doctor's 24/7 is difficult.
So I think, could any other doctor also would like to pitch on this question about mask query, what we have asked? Gayatri ma'am, could you actually, please?
To me, I feel that the mask has to be worn by everyone. And this surgical mask, which is usually used by everyone, is sufficient for the normal people who are roaming about on the roads. But as far as concerned regarding the healthcare professional, I think for a physician or for any person who is seeing just the OP, I feel that the surgical mask along with the face shield and a cap is sufficient to see the OP. But for the one doctor who is doing the invasive procedures, N95 mask along with the face shield is needed because of the exposure to aerosols. So this mask actually prevents the infection when the person coughs or talks. This is mainly preventing the infection from the person to the other person. Actually, the mask is not protective for ourselves. It is for protecting the people to whom we are speaking or to whom we are interacting.
Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think that was a valuable input from your end, because people are having a lot of apprehensions about the kind of mask they should wear. Should it be triple layered? And as there are so many products being available in the market, one really doesn't know to go about with which kind of mask. Thank you so much, ma'am. I think the next questions are being posted by Adi. Over to you, Adi.
A very good and warm welcome to all the panelists.
Can I add a little bit to this mask issue?
Yeah, sure, sir. Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you.
There is the apprehension about the mask is varied. People just in the days of having a mask, some people are going for N95, some people are going for cloth, which are available, cloth masks which are available, and there are some cheap masks are also available without this nose strip. So problem is that we are never used to this masks to be wear on day-to-day basis or for the whole day. So normally the doctors who were used to wear this mask used to dispose of the mask in the hospitals after the procedure, after meeting the patient, after OP, they used to dispose of the mask and come home. With the current situation, what's happening, irrespective whether in general public or even a doctor for that matter, now because they are wearing N95 at the cost or at the cost of the hospital, whatever, they are carrying the mask in the same condition to the home, to their houses. And problem with the reusable mask is, what is the purpose of the mask is to prevent you from the infection getting in. And if you are exposed, the exterior part of your mask is already exposed to the virus outside. When you get that mask into your house and try to preserve it for the next use, you are touching it, you are putting in your pocket, you are hanging it in somewhere in the house. So the very purpose of wearing the mask for the prevention is lost. So disposable masks are always better, what I feel, because you will dispose of the infected substance there and then without touching the exterior substance. You should remove it from the strap, and without touching the mask, you should dispose it. That is the actual procedure of a mask to be worn.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the input.
So, very good and warm morning to all the panelists. So, my first question would be to Dr. Shashidhar. So, my question is letting kids play in the apartment or a colony safe? And is calling friends at home safe who have been following the same safety norms?
At present, this current situation, I don't recommend too much crowding in your houses and playing around, because this is a very severe pandemic which is happening, and I think we should all be careful about this. So we don't recommend crowding in your houses, parties, regular playing.
Yes, sir.
Yes, currently we should avoid all these things.
Have to stop playing badminton then.
No, not like, group of friends and those things we should try to avoid. Yeah.
But what if they're like following the same safety norms as I am doing?
Sorry?
What if they're also following the same safety norms as I am doing?
That is very difficult to describe, because I think if Dilip also agrees with me, they're talking about this community transmission and other things. So we should be a little more careful current situation, because this present 1 week or 10 days is very crucial. I think Dilip can answer your further questions. Okay, he's a physician who is dealing with a lot of COVID patients, and I strongly recommend, because I think he is the first frontline warrior among all of us here. Dilip, you have anything to say about this?
So, given this extended lockdown, I think there is an echo coming. Yeah. So now playing inside a enclosed room or a house without much ventilation is risky. So even if you are following the 6 feet distance and all, inside a house, gathering of say 4 or 5 kids is still not recommended. But if it's exterior, if it's in the outside, say you're talking about the shuttle and all, so if it's a open environment, it is still fine. So you will have to remember that if there is good adequate ventilation, cross ventilation. So if the air is entering from one side and exiting from the other side, then in that case, that too, maybe 2 or 3 people can gather. And that too, I mean, if it's since it's an extended period of lockdowns and all, and since schools have not started and children might get restless and all. So the psychological health is also important. So they can play, but provided there is a good, adequate, ventilation and at least 6 feet distance maintained, even inside the house. But in an open environment, I think that is still fine. But nothing can prepare you, for the virus, because all these things that we've been talking about in the last 3-4 months, the number of times that we should wash our hands 5 to 6 times, not touching our face at all, then the 6 feet distance, and any sick family member, if present, they need to immediately get help, get checked first. So, and if the family member is present, feverish and has cold and all these symptoms, he will need to be tended to by one family member and not the entire family. And he should be given a separate room with an attached bathroom, and he needs to isolate himself inside the house itself. And again, pending results of the flu swab, the test that we do for COVID. So this is not a small thing. It is a very important and a dreaded disease. Although the mortality is not so much, but the risk is because of the ability for it to spread. So there are people who may not have any symptoms at all, completely asymptomatic, but they test positive, but they have this potential of spreading the disease to elder patients, population who have other multiple problems of heart, liver, kidney, and all. So now these patients or people who get this disease from the asymptomatic young population, they are at higher risk. Their mortality ranges from beyond 8 to 12%. So it is really important that we maintain the strict physical distancing, sanitary measures, strict quarantine in case someone turns positive.
Thank you, Dr. Shashidhar and Dr. Dilip, for enlightening us. So my second question is to you, Dr. Dilip. Is it safe to get food from takeaway restaurants when we order food from a place? The main priority and concern is that the delivery boy may be infected. Or if we don't want to deliver, can we just go to the restaurant and take it? Because many restaurants are advertising that we are following all these safety rules and it's completely touch-free. We are using gloves and stuff. So is it safe?
The question is for me. Can you
repeat?
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, so you're asking about is it okay to go to restaurants that say that they are following the norms?
Yeah, and take away food. Yeah,
I would still not recommend that. Takeaway food. We don't know the kind of environment it is being prepared. Of course, they might claim that they are following all the sanitary techniques, measures, and all. But it's a aerosol theory, as we all know how the virus spread. There is also a theory called microaerosol theory, where these aerosols are like super micro droplets, which you can't really see. You can't see with the naked eye. Now, these droplets might actually land on either the food itself or probably the packaging that they do. Say the boxes or the packet, the covers that they give. So they might actually potentially contain the virus, because all it takes is one sick person in the entire crew of the cooking team. And then you never know. I mean, when you actually touch it, when you open the takeaway. So it's really not advisable right now, at least for the next 3 months. To even takeaways are not completely risk-free. That they're also risky, and home food, nothing beats home food. Please try to avoid restaurants at this point of time.
And now I have to make some provision to make pizza at home. Thank you for enlightening. Over to Nidhi.
Yeah. So I think, Adi, you were expecting some positive answers for yourself from the doctors, no? Playing with friends and about food and all. Okay. So you need to wait to get into that groove of some more months, dear. So, doctor, just one more added a question here. So when we say outside food, this bread, pizza bases, pav, buns, or some bakery items which are available, can they be bought or they also should be avoided?
Now the question was about if it is something you are going to say reheat, say for example you are buying chicken or something, you are going to cook again, so that is completely safe. But then the concept is that whatever they are being brought in, the containers, the bags and all, they might have a coating, like a layer of virus basically. So how you handle those when you bring them back home is important. Firstly, those covers need to be handled with a glove, with a clean, sterile, fresh glove. And then when you open them, if they are not perishable, you can probably leave them out at least for 1 day in sunlight. The good sunlight which may actually disinfect. Okay, and then you will have to wash these thoroughly, whatever you have purchased. I mean, if it is vegetables and all. Of course, bread and all, again, it's a question mark. I'd still recommend, if as much as possible, try to go ahead with the home cooked food. But if you are using these things, bread and pav and all those, so in that case, I would still suggest that because there is some degree of temperature that's required to inactivate the oil. So maybe reheating them probably might help.
Okay.
So, but the importance is on the covers that you bring them in with.
Thank you so much, dear doctor. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah. I think the next question is from Nidhi Zen.
Over to Nidhi.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. So my next question is to Dr. Shujauddin. We are advised to quarantine ourselves. The self-isolation was exciting in the beginning as we are children, but the confinement over a long period is making us irritable. How can we overcome this?
Yeah. Initially, when the exact process of quarantine was started, it was fun for children because they could watch TV, they could watch shows and cartoons and spend time with the magazine of the programs of their choice available with snacks before them. It was good for them, but subsequently, everything has a limit. So even children, when they watch movies or cartoons or programs, up to certain time they can enjoy it, but not beyond that. So subsequently, when parents also know that they have got nothing to do, when they left, normally when children enjoy is normally when parents stop them. When parents are not there to stop them, then their limit gets exhausted early. And that is where the children were facing problems of confinement because they cannot go out, they cannot meet their friends, they cannot have outside programs and their sports being played there. So, actually, problems of psychological this thing has affected the children in that way.
Yes, sir.
So the major age group for that will be normally between 8 years to 15, 16 years children where they are used to outside environment. Who used to go out for playing and who used to go out for outside sports and all. So the best way to tackle them is, as Dr. Dilip has said, going out at least for coming 2 months is not advisable. And for coming 15 days to 20 days is the maximum spike period because now the herd transfer, this thing is going to come into the population. As long as this herd immunity is going to develop, it is not advisable to go out. So the best with them is stay home, enjoy with your family, change your programs, change your studies, reading habits, develop some skill sets. And the skill sets what you know or your siblings know, try to teach each other. These are the only ways out, because now when you are bugged up with your TV, when you are bugged up with your mobiles and games and all, then physical activities are the one which is going to help you, because sitting at one place just sipping cool drinks and having snacks will all create a different problem.
Thank you so much, sir. So, I guess sir had a problem. Okay. So my next question is to Dr. Keshav. The news update on every news channel is creating anxiety and insecurity. How long will the state of pandemic continue?
Thank you for the question. After the whole long, it is going to be long. Definitely, it is more than a year. As long as we don't get a vaccine, that is going to be a long. Whereas the news channels, it is a bit worrying. I hope we should avoid looking about news and these things. Because the count and these all the things, positive cases, whatever there is, it looks like scary time. But what, from my side, I would advise you not to see such daily news programs which makes you worry. Only to keep yourself in the home. Keep away from all parties, get-togethers, and if any symptoms in your family members, just give a buzz to the doctor. That is going to be better version than looking about what is going to happen tomorrow and later.
So, sir, the lockdown won't be lifted this year?
Lockdown, I think it will be taking more than 4 to 5 months.
Okay.
Finally, we are at the peak level, because we are 130 crores.
Yeah.
And we are just at 5 lakhs. And by the time we reach 130 crores, I think it will be 1 year.
Oh my God.
Definitely, it's going to be a long term, and I hope the schools will be also for a long time.
The online school. Okay. Yes, thank you, sir. Over to you, Adi.
Yes, thank you, Nidhi. So my next question would be to Dr. Sabha. And I think she's facing some technical issues.
Yeah. Yes.
So this question is actually open to all the panelists present here. So after recovering from corona, can you still get infected by it? And the new drug or medicine, Coronel, is released claiming that it can cure it in 40 days. Is it true and genuine? And also, if without taking any medicine, the patient is getting cured, can he still get infected by it again?
If I can answer that. So there is no proof for Coronel. Basically, we are all in a kind of practice called evidence-based medicine. In fact, there is no evidence for Coronel. So kindly stay away from believing those rumors. Yeah, having said that, now there are some measures, some products which can actually improve your immunity and help you fight the disease better. I mean, these are not medicines, but these are immune boosters. Like, for example, say nano curcumin, which is a derivative of curcumin, which is turmeric derivative basically. So nano curcumin has shown benefit for fighting the virus better than glutathione, and then good protein meal, and good hydration. So all these help your immunity boost basically. Now, can one patient who has recovered from the disease, can he get the disease again? I think is that the question?
Yes.
So reinfection is something which is possible and has been noted, in fact, in some part of South Korea, and even in India, and many parts of China. So reinfection is not going to be that bad, meaning the disease is not going to be severe, because most of the time what happens, this is an RNA virus. RNA virus changes its, there is a point mutation that keeps occurring. Usually in RNA viruses, it occurs once a year. But in this particular virus, it's happening pretty soon, probably within a month or in 3 months or so. So when you have an antibody, when you get an infection and when you get cured of it, you are basically producing lots of antibodies against the virus. That is how your body gets rid of the virus. Now, when the changed virus actually infects you after 3 months, the antibodies that you have produced may not be 100% effective against this new, the changed virus. So there might be some kind of mild, really mild infection. But as of now, we need not worry about reinfection much. Like you have already said, most people are recovering even without any medicine. That is especially the subset of people who are aged less than 40 without BP, sugar, or any other comorbid condition, who are not smokers, and who have a very good healthy exercise and healthy lifestyle. So these patients, even if they are infected, they might not even know. So just by chance, when you're checking the entire family, they might come positive. So like I said, going back to good hydration and good nutrition and good exercise, young people can definitely combat the virus much better. And reinfection is not something we need to worry too much about at this point.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So my next question is to Dr. Shujauddin. So it's about psychology. So if any person is affected by corona, should he go to a hospital or should he stay home? In this lockdown situation, are the patients being able to get the moral and emotional support? Because the patient will get better when he wants to get better. Are they doing any kind of online backup or support?
Okay. The current situation is such, the current disease, current virus, it is not something which nobody wants to have it actually. So there's no chance that somebody doesn't want to get right, somebody doesn't want to get better in the current situation. So the question actually should be like, how to fight psychologically, mentally, how to fight the current situation. So there's nothing like willingness there. So everybody who are getting infected, definitely they would like to come out of the situation. So what is required is more of precautions there, more of a precaution there, because it's a medical condition, it's not a psychological condition there. It's a medical condition which is worsening his health. So, of course, psychological bearing will be there, but not as in other situations like it is in cancer or any other medical illness where the willpower of coming up matters. In this situation, it is more of a precaution, more of the rules which have to be followed, more of developing the immunity, more of developing your surroundings of getting exposed to the external environment, which matters. Of course, the psychological bearing will be there as long as you are in the hospital, for the family coming in and going, and you being contained in a room. So psychological bearing will be there, but it is not going to affect the health medical condition as in other conditions, other ailments and all.
Thank you, Dr. Shujauddin. Nidhi, it's your chance.
Thank you, Adi. So my question is to Dr. Dilip again. What is community transmission, and would relaxing the lockdown decrease it? Dr. Dilip?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just rejoined. Can you repeat that question again?
Yes, sir. What is community transmission, and would relaxing the lockdown decrease it?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's a sharp reflection that all the politicians should look at right now. Community transmission is something when there is no, it's no more an outsider, somebody from outside the community, like outside India, for example, coming in, then infecting a group of people. We are not at that stage anymore. It's like your neighbor, probably, for example, may have corona, and you might get from him when he or one of the family members comes to your house. And so it is basically like the name says, it is spreading in the community as we speak. So right now we are in community stage. Yes.
Yeah.
Relaxing lockdown is a decision that the government has taken for various reasons. One of it is to actually not let the economy suffer anymore. because we were doing pretty bad economy-wise April and May. But then government has taken a fine but a difficult choice, a balance. It has taken a balance as to not let the economy suffer anymore, and then also trying to make sure the social distancing and all these practices continue to stay. So it's like they have understood that it is not a 1 month, 2 month period. So it's going to be an extended period of time, say for probably 6 months or even like Dr. Keshav said, 1 year. So we can't let the entire economy of a country suffer and bring down, because that is also causing deaths in a different way. If people are dying because of not having jobs, they are dying of hunger and all that. So there was a fine balance that the government wanted to draw. And that's why the lockdown relaxations have to be taken from their perspective. But I would, as a doctor, seeing pretty bad cases, young patients dying, and and Virinchi, the hospital I work in is one of the COVID designated hospitals. So in fact, there is a flood of cases, and it is unfortunate that the public is not really caring about the social isolation, social norms that the government has been advocating repeatedly. So when people keep gathering in such masses, basically the community spread is going to be is going to explode. So we are now looking at a very, very high like flood of cases basically, and this is going to continue from the to the next 2 months as well. So yes, I understand your question that lockdown and community spread. When there is so much community spread happening, why was lockdown lifted? And only politicians at the level of CM and PM, only they can answer that question. But from our side, we will have to continue. If the lockdown is lifted, it does not mean the virus is disappearing. On the contrary, the virus is actually multiplying. Patients, the number of patients getting infected and becoming a disease and actually dying, these numbers are rising exponentially. So the virus is very much there. Only the lockdown is lifted. So it is all up to us now, for us to take care of ourselves first, our families first. So the mask recommendations and the at least three-ply mask recommendation. Then you see, if some person who is even at 6 feet distance from you, if he has a mask, if you also have a mask, the chance for the transmission is still there, but probably less than 2%. But if the patient or the person you're talking to does not have a mask, but even if you have a mask, the risk goes up by 20 to 30%. So it is really important that everybody, regardless, has a mask, especially three-ply mask, and make sure if they are disposable, do not take the masks home, do not reuse them. Because if you are reusing them, you are actually increasing your risk of getting the virus. So I think that answers your question.
Yeah, so sir, it's like we're not supposed to use the reusable masks. Is that we're not, we need to use like new mask every time we go out. Sir, Dr. Dilip, I guess.
Actually, here I want to bring out one more point, that we also have this N95 mask. So, Dilip, you want to say anything about this N95 mask, like how frequently can we use it, and how do we dispose it?
So everybody, not everybody needs to use it, but people who are at high risk of exposure, even people who are seeing OP, outpatients, even they have to have N95 masks. And please do remember, these N95 masks need to be disposed at the end of the day. Meaning, say 6 to 8 hours is the period. You cannot, some of the N95s say they can be reused, but you cannot reuse them more than 3 times. So again, having said that, not everybody needs to wear an N95 because they're expensive. And again, after 6 to 8 hours of time, the outer exterior part of the mask is probably contaminated with the virus, probably. So how you remove it is also important. You can't remove it from the front of it. You will have to remove it from the ear, from the back. And do not make sure you do not touch the surface of the mask, and dispose it in a very careful manner in a container that if it is a hospital, we have this color coding, basically yellow, red, and as black. So you can dispose it in the yellow container and make sure your disposal staff also follows that guidelines. So N95 is important for those who are at high risk, especially that the inpatient or outpatient patients who are strong suspects of COVID.
Oh, thank you, sir. So my next question is to Dr. Sabha. Suppose the parents are too busy and are unable to give us time. What would be the best advice to children like us to maintain good nutrition, which would be simple and nourishing to prepare?
See, parents will be busy. We have to go back to our grandmothers. Okay, what our parents, you ask your parents what you used to eat as children, because that time there was no junk food. We had no option like you all have. Okay, so we used to have all innovative ways of cooking home food, which was very nutritious. So all the ingredients available in the kitchen you can be put for use to prepare good nutritious food. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can go back and ask for the original traditional recipes, what your parents or grandmothers used to have. Or otherwise, you can even have, fruits. 2-3 servings of fruits are a good option. Milk is a good option. Okay. And protective vitamins are there. Vitamin C, everyone can take, a B complex dose. So this will all boost up our immunity. And what kids can do is, as physical activity, you can have a regime of, say, 45 minutes to 1 hour every day. You can include skipping. You can include 20 minutes of yoga. Okay, so you can have all these innovative things which you do not require you to go outside. You can do it inside the house also. Just open up all the windows. You can do 20 minutes of yoga. Skipping, you can add up, start with 100, go up to 200. You can increase your endurance also. And food-wise, local food which is available, okay, and freshly cooked.
Yeah.
And with fruits and all also. And as for your generation, you like a lot of snacking, so you can have sandwiches with cheese, etc., which are a good healthy option also. But take care not to overeat, and you can have multiple small meals at different occasions. Like every 2-4 hours, you can have a small meal.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
So no outside food for next 3 months. Take a pledge, all of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Whatever you want, you can cook in the house nowadays with the help of YouTube. Right from pizza, adi, to bread you can bake in your own house. Everything you can do now.
Yeah, the kitchen is going to be a disaster now.
I love to cook.
It's a learning for all of us, right? Don't say that. It's like.
Yes, ma'am. Over to you, Adi.
Adi, if you don't mind, could I just intervene and ask one question before you post your questions? Thank you so much, Adi. Yeah. So I would like to ask this question to Dr. Sachin. Sir? Dr. Sachin,
yes, madam. I can hear you. Yes, madam.
Yes, sir. So, as we all know, being elders, definitely we have to take care of the family, the younger lot of students. Sometimes if elders are there at home, we have to take care of them. So a lot of responsibility lies on the this age group of people. I think I can say from 45 to 50, 55 years old, parents or family members, they have to take care of different age groups of people in the house, at the same time be very strong. So my question to you is, how can we mitigate this psychological impact of coronavirus, knowing that the future is going to be very, very uncertain? How can we handle this situation? Could you please help us, sir?
Okay, madam. So the basically one thing is for sure is that we are living with coronavirus amongst the community. So that is a fact. And the second thing is we have to take care of the things what we are doing routinely. Let us continue to do what we are doing routinely, even otherwise we don't have had a coronavirus. That's the first thing we should remember, that even if there is no coronavirus, we would have done all the jobs whichever we are being assigned to, will be doing. And the fear of getting it is really need not fear so much, because the community transmission even in the home, when someone gets in the home, someone gets, the other people getting is 30%. So it's not very high. So the most important thing for us to protect is our elderly in the family. Although young people are getting infected and getting sick, very few of them. Let's remember that. It's not that everybody who gets an infection is very sick. 90% of them have a mild disease, or about 80% are close to. and another 15% has a moderate disease. Only 5% are very serious, and those 5% are, most of them are elderly, or they have comorbidities. Comorbidities we mean is they have diabetes, kidney disease, hypertension, cancers, and other immune disorders, connective tissue disorders, what we call. So let us not too much worry about the disease as the mental level, but it doesn't mean that we need not take care to get it prevented from getting it. So that's very important. So first of all, mentally, let us not think that we're all going to get it and we are going to die out of it. No, not at all. 90% of us are going to be very safe. Okay, let us be not be worried too much about it. So if it comes, then the thing is, the next step comes is how to prevent. So let us take it as it comes, and then all of us are not going to get it. And very important thing now is when we go into the community, let us protect it, how to protect it ourselves. So as the very basic general rules, it's not only about the person to person, mass to mass, the person to person when they cough, talk or anything, but the surfaces where we go, touch, they're all very important. Whenever you touch any surface, there's a chance that you may get it. So let us immediately sanitize our hands before we get into our vehicles or whatever sort of it is. So the moment we come back home, again sanitize our hands, take a shower, change all the dress, send them for laundry again. So that's what the way we can protect ourselves. And let us practice regular yogasanas, what is feasible for this age is which everybody of us can do it. And meditation. So that's all it is. Nothing more than that we can do at this stage. And then those our good old practices of using the turmeric, honey, pepper, ginger, amla, all those things, let us continue. How much it prevents, we don't know, but it prevented a lot of things for our elderly. Hope it does the same. Okay, let's not worry too much about it, what's going to happen. And and death is not defined by anyone. So let's not worry too much about it. Let us protect our elderly. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, let us protect ourselves, and I think lot land up in an arrhythmias with Sachin will take care later. He's a good arrhythmia specialist. We are fortunate to work with him in care also previously. And then now we moved to AIG, and a lot of people having arrhythmias now because of COVID. And I'm sure you might have seen a lot of cases of late. I think we have to keep track of our heartbeat and pulse oximeter and all that at home. I think Dilip will also agree with that frequent monitoring of your pulse and then saturation levels and all that is also very important now.
Yes. So I think, Dr. Sachin, your answer was quite very clear and crisp. So it's more advisable to get into a fixed routine, which is definitely going to pep us up and think more positively. And I think we can also get into more of respiratory exercises, yoga, breathing exercises, which are going to pranayamas and all, which are not only help us to cool down, but also make our pulmonary system stronger. Thank you so much, sir. Over to Adi.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. So my next question would be to Dr. Keshav. Dr. Keshav. Question being, we are frequently listening to home remedies like taking a steam, drinking herbal tea or kadha twice a day and consume citrus. They are true till what extent? Because from past 1 week, I'm having a horrible taste kadha and a herbal tea.
Okay. See, these are natural remedies which used to be followed in the past. Like our elders used to be following that. But we don't know, as at this juncture of point, we go through evidence-based medicine. But these does not have much evidence on that, keeping in the mind. But it is not wrong doing these all things because it does not harm you much. So you can carry on with that. We don't know how it will help us, but definitely it is not a very harmful medications like that. So we can continue with all this kadha or ginger, turmeric, some garlic, these all can be tried from, I hope.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Very crystal clear. Thank you for doing that. So my next question would be to Dr. Shashidhar. So in hospitals, how are other patients being taken care of, like excluding corona patients? And is it suggested for patients to get surgeries done? Here, I would like to specify the patients like who go to government hospitals, as government hospitals are prioritizing the corona patients. So what about other patients? Are they be taken care of?
So at present, we should all admit that we are not able to provide good care to the non-COVID patients. That is because each management also feels that it is more priority to treat these COVID patients. Elective surgeries have been postponed. Most of them, we do a priority SARI testing. That is like we do some D-dimer, some basic tests like HRCT. If all that is normal, then we take up those patients. But currently, most of the non-COVID patients have been neglected. We agree upon that because the current priority is more about COVID. And non-COVID patients also, we should prioritize them and then take up them for respective surgeries, whatever is required. And I think I can take the panelists' advice also. I think Dilip and Sachin sir also might agree upon that we are concentrating too much on COVID issues rather than non-COVID issues. Isn't that right? I think in any hospital, they are all more concentrating about COVID management. I think all of our done PhDs on COVID because a lot of things on WhatsApp, everywhere, with some papers every day bombarding on this management, that management. Everybody is talking about COVID. Even patients are talking about COVID. They don't want to come to the hospitals because of COVID. They themselves, I think the number of cardiac admissions or in the neuro wards, everything has come down now. Even the hospitals are concentrating on COVID, I think, but we should equally take the responsibility of treating the non-COVID patients as well. Dilip,
I totally agree with that. Actually, in fact, non-COVID deaths are occurring. People who don't have corona, but they are not getting beds in hospitals. So otherwise, avoidable deaths are happening. Who do not have corona because when they rush to hospitals and all, hospitals are not providing beds. This is an unfortunate situation. In fact, this is why we wanted to flatten the curve. If you remember, this was the phrase that we have been using for the last 3 months. So, but somehow we are not able to flatten the curve that much, given the steep rise nowadays. So non-COVID patients, of course, in hospital, at least in our hospital, there is a separate segregated ward and they are being taken care of. But although emergency cases are being taken, especially right now. So, but the non-COVID regular patient, yes, like Dr. Sijja said, they are not being catered to, they are not being admitted much. In fact, some hospitals are entirely COVID, meaning they have no beds for non-COVID at all. So in this situation, avoidable deaths are occurring. Yes, this is an unfortunate situation, but this is an overload on the system because of corona. So which is why I think it is really important for us to for the healthcare system to understand and try to minimize this way and probably bring up more centers which will take up COVID so that the burden on the system will actually come down and more non-COVID deaths can be avoided.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. So, Dr. Sachin, sir, you also wanted to give some inputs. Adi, we will take inputs from sir also and move ahead.
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
So, as both of my colleagues told, these things are happening. And one more thing we should remember that on the patient's perspective as well, they think there are COVID patients. If we go to the hospital, we may get the COVID. But they should remember that if you have any critical illness, you feel really, really sick, and then sitting at home and dying of that disease is not good as well. It's all hospitals are not completely for COVID. Few of the hospitals like AIG, maybe Care Hospital, Virinchi, many of the hospitals around the private hospital in the city are catering for the non-COVID patients as well. So it's not that you are really sick and then want to sit at home in the getting fear of getting COVID. That's not good. Better reach a hospital, get treated. It's better to get treated for the disease than dying of that disease in the fear of COVID. So COVID is not going to come to all of you when you go to the hospital. So that way I can tell you, hospitals are, yes, I do agree that there is a more concentration on COVID patients, and it does happen in a pandemic situation like this. You don't have a choice. So, but better reach the hospital for the things which you feel that you are not really well.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. As you rightly said, even everywhere the care is being taken, that there is sanitization, people who come are safe. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Adi, over to you, Adi.
Over to Nidhi, ma'am. My questions are done.
Yes, thank you. So my question is to Dr. Shashidhar. When our school was in operation, we had ample scope for physical activity due to activities, games, and competitions. Now the prevailing conditions have enforced us forbid from all such activities. According to you, what is the best we can do to get back on the move?
Yeah, at present, if you see most of the home environment also, you have an inside gym where you can start doing your treadmill, you can do your yoga, like what your principal had said, like the breathing exercises, you know. We of late, we have been spending more time with children because we also have this opportunity of spending more time with the kids, and then we can do a combined yoga with your children and spend more time with them. You know, there are many other breathing exercises, pranayams. You know, if you have a treadmill, you can just walk upon it, jog upon it. You know, it's a combined because even parents now currently they're spending more time with the kids. That's what I keep talking to my colleagues. I wish Dilip, I think you also agree upon that we are having some time during the lockdown, that 2 months we could spend more time with our kids, first time in our lives.
Actually, and it's like some kind of a forced boon that most doctors like us have got. In fact, even the particular visits about 18 hospitals in the city. So we are like 12 hours gone in the day, 24 hours.
Yeah.
So the time that we get to spend with the kids has been very less, but at least in the last 2 months, in that way we are able to spend more time, do combined exercising and all physical activities, and so pranayama, about that I want to add one scientific basis for it. So when you are doing deep breathing, what is happening is your lungs are going to recruit the otherwise dormant alveoli. Alveoli are nothing but small balloons, basically, that participate in the oxygen exchange. So with pranayama, what you're doing, you're actually recruiting the entire 100% of lung, and alveolar recruitment is at its peak. And in fact, that is something which we encourage for even sick patients, moderate to even sick patients. We do something called prone ventilation. So with that, you're actually your cardiorespiratory reserve is increasing. So with that, you're actually able to better fight the disease. So definitely, deep breathing is valuable. It is something which every one of us should be doing.
Okay, thank you, sir. So my next question is to Dr. Keshav. This is my last question. So I have 2 dogs, and the pets need their daily walks, checkups, and grooming. But when the human movement is restricted, is it okay for us if we take them out?
You can dogs on the streets?
Yeah, because for their daily walks and sometimes checkups and grooming. Yeah.
Tricky question, but thank you for asking me that. But see, you should not go to parks. That is the most important in this. Never go to parks. You can go to ideal places on the street where more population is not there. And definitely you should be wearing your mask and try to wear your gloves. And whenever you come back, try to wash your clothes, hands, and sanitize yourself with and hopefully even the dog, If you would like to wash, it is also better because they walk on the streets. That will be also a better thing. Otherwise, I don't think that is not a big problem.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Over to you, Adi.
So my next question will be to Dr. Sachin. Here goes the question. So sanitization of articles and commodities started in a laborious way when the corona scare started. But now, as we know about the modes of transmission, should still the laborious process be followed for various articles like electronic gadgets which are being bought, the fruits and vegetables, and also the technicians we are frequently calling for a repairs?
So the surface sanitization is still must. So that's very important. We cannot neglect that because whatever the surfaces, where the virus can stay is definitely longer than on the air, in the air itself. So surface sanitization is must. There is no question about relaxing on that part, especially things coming inside the house from outside. At least keep them in the sunlight for 24 hours, or else you want to use it immediately. You wear a gloves or take out all the whatever the surface outside. Inside also, I don't know when it will be packed. If you have can sanitize that with your sanitizers, that's better. That's always better. There is no question about it. And coming to the fruits and vegetables, people handle them, right? It's not that they're handled all the time with full hygiene. So whenever you get a fruits and vegetables, wash them with vegetable washes and then only use them. And whenever there is a possibility, there's a skin, you remove the skin and eat them. So we need to continue that.
So on social media, frequently they have been circulating that immerse the vegetables in baking soda and water solution. Till what extent is it helpful?
It is helpful. Yes, it is definitely helpful.
Yes, thank you.
That's going to take away the bacteria and viruses from that. Yes.
Sure. So my next question is to Dr. Sabha. So in this, teenagers or young people may withstand the infection, but be asymptomatic vectors and carriers of the infection. How the family members, especially the senior citizens, can be safe from their own family members?
What we have been doing since morning, we have to be very, very alert and cautious in our day-to-day life. We have to restrict our movement. Only if we do that and we follow all the precautions, then only we can keep our seniors and the very younger people safe. If we restrict our movement, we don't go out much, we keep ourselves healthy, there are less chances of them being infected because they are not going to go out on their own. So it is us, the younger people, and the 30 to 50 age group, which is going in and out of the house. They have to be very cautious to protect the children and our elderly.
Yeah.
We have to follow all the precautions, and we have to keep ourselves healthy and mentally strong and fit, basically.
Thank you, Mom. So my last question is available to all the panelists because it's one of the most important questions. So in recent news, it has been circulated that people who tentatively feel that they might be infected to corona roam the whole day, go to many hospitals and don't get proper guidance. So can you tell the plan of action which needs to be followed by citizens if they think that they are corona infected? Where should they go?
I think if any of the public, if they feel they have these symptoms, fever, dry cough, then breathlessness that is worsening, they should not take it light. They should actually meet the physician, nearest physician or pulmonologist, and then get a CT chest scan, especially if they are dyspneic. Okay, if there is no dyspnea, but just having mild fever and cough. But if there is a positive family case, say in the family or in the neighborhood or in the workplace that the patient must have visited, they will have to get themselves checked. Now, testing-wise, as we all know, we have two types of tests, RT-PCR and IgM testing. So RT-PCR is preferable. So get yourself tested. Before there is absolutely no need to panic because if you're younger and all, without comorbid conditions like diabetes and all, there is absolutely no need to panic. But having said that, if there is dyspnea, if you are feeling breathless, then you will need a CT scan. And there is a thing called clinico-radiological dissociation. Meaning clinically, patient may be apparently not so sick, but then when you get the CT scan, the CT lungs are pretty bad, meaning they might collapse in the next coming 2 days. So that is why it is important not to take the disease very lightly, but also on the other hand, not to panic. So get help. There are good services that government is giving, even private sector is giving. So I think that's the bottom line. Do not panic on one side, but you should always be cautious and make sure you're on the milder end of the disease spectrum, not on the moderate or severe end.
Yes, thank you, sir. It was completely crystal clear, and it was amazing talking to all of you doctors. And once again, happy National Doctors Day.
Yeah. So we had Dr. Gayatri also on panel today. Gayatri, ma'am? Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, I was being called to be as a panelist, but I told my husband would be better because he's a pulmonologist. I being a medical geneticist, I know, but they would be the better persons to talk and to give better answers to the children. So I wanted him to join.
Yeah. But anyways, as you are here, ma'am, would you like to put forward something which our kids have missed? So basically, we tried to pose the questions of their area of interest, whatever the doubts they had as kids. So do you think our kids have missed something which they should know to handle this pandemic in a better way?
As far as I am concerned, like the kids will be getting bored being at home, and they miss the friends because they are more enjoy studies more in the school than online studies. But I asked them, I wish that they would utilize this pandemic period like doing something which is like indoor games, yoga, and then some skipping, some kind of exercise. And in addition, this is the better time for them to study, and because we being parents used to be more busy before the COVID period, but now the number of patients have decreased and we were able to spend some time with the children, and I would like them to utilize the parents also during this pandemic period and eat healthy food, not the food from outside. Which is very difficult now to tell whether it would be very safe to use outside food, because the children nowadays are more interested in eating the junk food rather than the food prepared by the mother at home. Like these are the better suggestions I would give them. And from the head to toe, I always ask them whenever they go outside, if it's mandatory, if they wanted to go outside, it's better they put a mask and then don't touch the mask and remove the mask from here. And one more thing is, I would like to tell that they should use the sanitizer whenever they go outside, because the children are more used to touch their face, touch the objects outside. Even if it tell n number of times also, they feel that they don't realize the importance of the virus, because they are still young to know the pathophysiology of the virus, how it spreads and all those things, even if it tells n number of times. And these are the things which I want to put before the children, ma'am. And I thank you for asking me some doubts.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes,
I have a little question, ma'am.
Yeah, sure, Nidhi.
Being on the screen for quite a long time, they get headaches and sometimes our eyes hurt. Is there anything we can do to get back on track and do our homeworks for the rest of the day?
You can use anti-glare like cameras, like as I said, like you can use the screens which are anti-glare.
Okay.
The computers have an anti-glare screen now. They don't affect your eyes much.
Okay.
At last, I would add that these are all new learning systems. We have to adopt slowly. We'll adopt and we'll try to learn from them and try to improve them. So I hope these are all learning curves for us. So hopefully newer versions will be coming on.
I would like to ask a question to Dr. Keshav. Sir, you being a pulmonologist, I just have a small doubt. Actually, we've been hearing that, like, suppose we get a small, mild sneezing or coughing. So, is it true? Some people say that before the virus actually reaches the lungs, and if we start taking steam inhalation and all those things, the virus is killed even before it reaches the lungs. So, is it actually true, sir?
No, that clinically evidence that there is no evidence such as like that.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
I would like to add to Nidhi's question regarding stress to the eyes. One thing you can do is be close to nature in whatever way you can. You can start gardening or planting because green is a very cooling color to your eyes.
Okay.
So you can have a terrace garden or start gardening and just be close to nature for 5 minutes. After 30 minutes of screen time, close your eyes for some time. That's where you can have your own kitchen garden.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So I think it was a wonderful, wonderful discussion here today. As it is rightly said, when it is being told by parents and by family members, so, many of us, we don't get to know its importance or we don't follow. But when the same thing is told by an outsider, it actually gets in right straight into your head and you start understanding things better. So I'm sure Nidhi and Adi are going to carry this message across to their friends too, okay? About different doubts what you had as a student, do's and don'ts during this pandemic time. So the best advice to you as students I would give you is to work on all your strengths and also weaknesses and try to develop some super duper skills which you can apply when the pandemic is over. You should be a totally new yourself to yourself also when you are out of this pandemic. And actually the teacher should be surprised. The 6 months back, the student wasn't like this. What has he or she done to herself or himself when they were at home? Okay.
A total glow up.
I think all the doctors here as parents also would agree to me. Okay. So let us all take it very, very positively. And again, once again, from bottom of my heart, I would really like to thank all the doctors who have spent so much of their valuable time here. Because I know you are all very, very busy handling very tough situations. In spite of that, you have agreed to come here and answer to all the questions what our students have posted with utmost patience and care. Thank you so much, dear doctors. So I should really thank you because what I feel is, you are helping us to spread the gift of health around. So we do gift people many things in our life for birthdays and for different occasions. But I feel you are gifting us good health. That is something which is above everything in our life. I feel if God is the creator, you are the people who are giving us second life. So thank you so much once again to all of you for being here. And
so much.
Yes, enlightening us on different areas which are going to help us to be safe. So let us all be safe and let us all stay at home and let us all be healthy. Thank you so much, dear doctor.
Thank you so much.
Sir, Anju Agarwal, on behalf of the entire team of DSC Banjaras, I would like to thank all of you for enlightening us with such wonderful and useful information, sir. And I once again would like to wish each one of you a very happy Doctor's Day. Thank you all once again, sir.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thanks.